Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. And there's also a PayPal, Patreon, and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video, there is a link to get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected. And if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by Arwin, Neil, 10th Man, Elijah, Flatzoid, Sleeping Warrior, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome, one and all.
Hello, hello, good afternoon.
Good morning.
Owen, that was great.
Everyone.
You got to repeat that, Owen.
I got the first half. I got the first half, so you'll have to check out the pre-show when it comes out on the following day on my second channel. So subscribe today to Nathan Oakley. I did get 90% of your ramble and went 2 minutes late to get it, Arwin. But yes, I did have to cut you off eventually to start the live show. Quick shout out, though. Shout out to James Richard, who says, if the sun is an apparent position and cannot be physically located, how does one acquire its distance? You don't. Any evidence of the distance to the sun? Thank you for the super chat, James Richard.
I don't know where it apparently is at this point.
It's warm in my area.
Say again, Neil?
I said it's right above me, warming my area where I live, upstate New York. Beautiful sunny day. What is that thing? I have no idea. Where is it? I don't know how far away it is.
Godzilla from the super chat. It says, remember when we all thought we were on a spinning wet ball rocket? Question mark. How stupid were we? Question mark. How stupid is Rumpus still? Question mark. Thank you very much for the super chat. Really appreciate it. Yeah, I can remember that. Getting further and further into my distant memories. I've got to be honest about you guys. You all remember being on a spinning ball flying through a sky vacuum?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I remember that when I still believed it, I didn't really agree with it. I always considered like this is a work in progress, and for some, I don't know, virtue signaling reason, they let in these really stupid ideas so that the lesser smart people can also feel smart about it. That was how I interpreted it as a baller back then.
Yeah, but Owen, I knew it couldn't be real. Like, how could this be happening? So I attributed it to the power of God. And I preached it too, how amazing God is.
Okay.
Well, I've never looked back once since, so it doesn't bother me at all.
Well, I thought it was possible because, dude, Star Trek predicted it. And that's so real, it has to be real. It's just that the way it was getting executed at the moment didn't seem very logical. So it just seemed like, oh, it's a work in progress. They're just kind of fooling around right now. I don't know exactly why, but I hope it's going to improve someday.
Can't improve. It's been debunked. I mean, any evidence of a physical geometric spheroid horizon, formerly known as Earth curve, that would be the thing that they used to claim blocked boats and buildings with its physical nature. Formerly known as the horizon, formerly known as Earth curve. We've debunked that. But any evidence that's come to improve upon things?
Now, you can't get high up enough to see the curve.
What curve?
I already knew that 20 years ago.
Can't get high enough to see the curve? You mean you can't get high enough to see the horizon claimed to be physical bending?
Yes.
No, what Arwen is saying is that you can't get to 1 feet.
Hold on. So, no, the horizon, regardless of your altitude, is not physical location. It's not Earth curve edge. We've debunked that.
I have CGI that begs to differ.
CGI, computer-generated images. I couldn't care less. Meanwhile, the horizon's not
the
physical
mod-
location. It's not Earth curve edge. It's claimed to be a physical geometric tangent point that blocks boats and buildings with its physical nature, and we have debunked it as a physical location to the point where our opponents tell us how non-physical it is.
Only
give
if
a
our eyeballs were as big as the moon could we properly see the geometric edge of the Earth.
I don't think resolution's got anything to do with it. Go ahead, 10th man.
Yeah, before my eyeball gets as big as the moon, let me give a contrast. So they've told us all along that the Earth curve is what's blocking the bottoms of boats and buildings until they got held to the fire. Now they got held to the fire. Neil deGrasse Tyson says, oh, you can't, that stuff is flat. You can go 120, 130,000 feet and still not see it. Or just at that point, you might be able to see a little bit of it. Okay, well, here's a problem. It's called the black swan. It's called 1 foot above the ground. And you're supposed to have a horizon that's physical. And first it's blocking things. So we do see it then, but now we can't see it because Neil says you can't see it. What happened to all the times you said we do see it? Because it was the obstruction of things bottom up. When we have a much better answer, things are obstructed bottom up. I mean, it's just so ludicrous. The whole thing caves in on itself.
Don't you think it's funny that everything they've used to try and establish their so-called curve has everything been based on apparent and abstract?
Yeah. Yeah, because the horizon is apparent. It's not physical.
Therefore, there's no such thing as saying you can't get high enough.
Because, yeah, the horizon is not Earth curve. We only have one horizon, and the horizon in the Earth curve model is physical and geometric, blocking boats and buildings. The horizon we experience in reality is not physical.
Hold on. I wasn't talking about altitude.
We were talking about the horizon, though.
Don't you get it?
No.
We can't get high enough to see the geometric horizon.
Very good.
Darwin.
Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety? No drunken spinning jokes either, Arwin.
That only works with the geometric horizon.
No evidence.
No, but when people get high enough, things are spinning. I do hear that from them.
Didn't I
Would
just
you not
say?
first need a radius?
No, axial rotation of the alcohol-based variety. There's a claim we spin, right? There's a claim Earth turns.
I've had that experience. That's not fun.
No, the 15-degree deviation we do not experience whatsoever. Only the stars and sun are moving above us.
Any evidence of the R value? Earth radius.
Black swan.
Yeah, the black swan killed that too. There's no evidence.
Yep.
You first need a curve to be able to have a radius, to be able to have axial rotation or anything. So definitely no radius.
Yeah, they are intrinsically linked. The assertion that we have Earth curve is the assertion that the ground beneath our feet is curving away from us, and there's a drop value that you can measure, and the physical obstruction of the horizon as an Earth curve edge. That's where you'd start if you were going to acquire an R value, and precisely where Al-Biruni did start to derive an R value. Again, it's been debunked by the black swan, so you're right, the two are intrinsically linked.
Well, they don't ever expect to see it. And since we know R value is only connected to a sphere or a circle, they pre-assume that. We live on a plane, so there is no R value for a plane.
Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Of what?
Gravity.
No, they need that for their presupposed Earth R values. That's how things are kept together, but it's not anything scientific or real.
Sorry, which one are you talking about? Because now it's even changing again, gravity. Don't know if you heard about that.
Changing again, what, for a third time?
Yep, they're moving towards entropic gravity now.
Okay. Moving away from the Einsteinian I mean, they've already got it in the fourth dimension anyway, so it's not something that takes place in the real world, regardless. So, not a massive concern. It's an explanation for a phenomena that we would only experience or need to experience if we were on a spinning sphere with people hanging off the bottom of it antipode from my location. Well, that requires them to have a force that's holding the people to the ball, called gravity. Regardless of how it's described through geodesics and space-time or mass attracting mass, it's overcoming a problem with a model that we don't stand upon. Now, if we don't have, as Flatsoid pointed out earlier, Earth curvature, then we don't have people antipode from our location by assumption, and we don't need gravity. As flat earthers, we have no requirement for this nonsense. Any evidence you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
No, it's a necessary.
It's funny. It's funny to me that people don't. It's funny to me that people don't understand what the word pressure means.
In this context, it's the force exerted on
I
the
mean,
walls
you
of a
can't
container.
state you have.
Seems like we have a time delay between Flatsoid and you, Nathan.
I'm stopping.
Sorry, these damn satellites don't work in the bush.
So the force exerted on the walls of its container when in context with gas, Flatsoid.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. How can they say they have pressure if there's no container to have the pressure?
Well, without the container, there can be no pressure. Hey,
Yeah.
Flatsoid. Hey, Chocolate.
Good morning, guys.
Hey, snacks are in the front now. Hey, good morning.
What's up, man?
Yeah, I mean, whenever you go fill up a propane tank, or a scuba diver needs to fill up his tanks to go underwater, they get it. Just the ballers don't get it.
Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Not viable.
Emails count.
It's been a while since a Becky reference, eh?
Did we do the iron core yet?
Not yet.
Well, you could
Okay.
email a viable hypothesis.
The means of communication isn't what I'm requiring, though, Arwin. I don't care where it's published or how it's communicated.
Right.
No, they get some kind of machine to shoot up some kind of sound wave or something, or bouncing something off of what they think it's bouncing off of from. Then they start making that fit their model and saying we found a black hole or a quasar and this distant galaxy, and it's all based on mathematical stuff, never seen, touched, not empirical. No, they don't have real science, so sorry.
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Well, I have something I can read.
Go ahead, Neil.
Okay. All right. It's thought the main evidence for this is the huge amount of iron in the universe around us. It is one of the 10 most common elements in our galaxy and is frequently found in meteorites. Given how much there is of it, iron is much less common at the surface of the Earth than we might expect. So the theory is that when Earth formed 4.5 billion years ago, a lot of iron worked its way down to the core. There you go.
The Mystic Meg theory. So when that word theory is being used, it's being used to conjure the image of science. Theory in that
Yep.
context is a just-so story they've made up about a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. That's what they've actually done. It's not a theory. A scientific theory would be based on validated experiments.
But aren't they saying it's solid now and spinning the opposite direction as well?
Oh, don't get me started on the nonsense of
Wait
directions.
a second, it gets better. Hold on, I just found something even better. It says the iron must have somehow gravitated literally towards the center of the Earth, but it's not immediately obvious how. Wow.
So the problem with all that stuff is that they can't even show a geometric horizon to give us the first inclination that we live on a sphere.
Yeah, that black
So-
hole kills everything.
No, it's over.
That was the last housekeeping question.
Yeah, good. Still unanswered by the ballers. Where are they? They still can't answer them.
You know, in chat during the re-up of the shows Saturday and Sunday in chat, there's a lot of gangsters behind that keyboard talking trash, and I'm like, just come on the show. Some guy said I can't come on the show. It's recorded. I said, yes, Monday to Friday you can go on the show. You know what you get? I have work, not like you flatheads that sit home and collect unemployment. This is what you get.
Oh, so what I do isn't work. Okay.
I thought of you immediately, Flatzoid. So I gave them 5 steps on how to join the show and work at the same time.
Well,
Multitasking by Neil.
That was the
but
first
somehow,
one.
somehow I get it right to be on the show and work and do demonstrations to debunk them at the same time. Weird.
No, and the thing is, they wouldn't even answer a housekeeping question in chat. That's what I go to. Can you answer one housekeeping question, please? Never an answer.
One of their things they always do is say, show us a map of the flat Earth. And then they copy paste some big long citation or something.
And they claim we have no proof.
Yeah, they want us to show a model, but they can't even produce their own model.
Well, and the model that they are hanging to doesn't vet out with the housekeeping questions. So no matter if they bring the model they want to produce, the housekeeping questions kill them. So
Yeah,
they can't
destroys
produce that. So then they say, where's your model? They say, we don't have a model. It's a reification.
Hey everybody,
Hey,
happy
Brian.
Monday.
What's up,
Hey,
Brian?
Brian.
Well done on Brandon's the other night, though. I got to say, you held your own, buddy.
Yeah, my microphone was very low, and it was after the fact, but you know it doesn't matter. I still got some of the claims out of the way, but I don't even think it's even a whole lot necessary now because like they're all not going on, with the exception of Page and maybe one or two others. The majority of them are totally not away from the door. They're going against it anyway.
Paige's problem is she's trying to develop a model. Why?
Yeah.
Yeah,
She wants
I'm
to see the bigger
surprised.
picture. She wants to see the bigger picture, and she believes Bob when he says the gravimeters prove something. And we've always said, well, what are they proving? There's no manipulated independent variable, and there's no naturally occurring phenomena. So whatever's going on inside the gravimeter, okay, lovely, something's happening. So what's it actually proving? And the answer is nothing.
Yeah, but
What-
the gravimeters is just a demonstration of relative density. That's all it is.
Bob can't see that, can he? I'm shocked that he thinks that they absolutely prove relative density arguments bunk. It's like, come on, Bob, look at what's going on. You've got zero medium. What do you think is going to happen if you put mass in it? It's going to displace.
Well, actually,
Not
one
crushed.
of their main claims from their side is that they gave out about Maxwell. I think it was Maxwell who claimed that you could have electric charge without matter, that it was separate from matter or whatever. And they say, no, you can't have that without matter. But in a vacuum, outside of the steel ball and whatever the vacuum chamber is made of, the vacuum itself, the whole idea is there is no matter. So how does their effect that they are claiming, how does that translate into that when there isn't even matter there outside of the steel ball? What's causing this downward, but they're claiming is a downward bias that that we don't have. But how can they're claiming this, and the gravimeter is the number one proof, but there isn't any matter in the vacuum. Do you know what I mean? That's the problem. Their whole theory is bleeding holes all over the place of contradiction.
Well, let me put this to you then, just a bit of a mind test. The densest known fluid that we've got is mercury. It is the most dense fluid we've got. If we breathed mercury and that was the medium that we were in, all matter would rise to the top of it unless it's more dense than the medium. But most objects would rise to in mercury. You've seen it with the iron anvil, right? Most objects would float, would rise. Would Bob's perception of a downward bias then become an upward perception of an upward bias, because the vast majority of things would then go up relative to the medium that he's in? And obviously the answer would have to be yes, because that would be what he perceives. But I wonder, would he actually argue that if our medium was mercury, guys? What do you guys think?
Yeah, but you see, Anthony, this is when he brings up the vomitometer and that density tower. He ignores the centrifugal forces and says, look, it's not relative density. So I don't know if it's just ignorance or dishonesty.
Well, you all know my position on whether it's ignorance or dishonesty.
Well, his main proof at present is gone back now. Like I didn't hear him mention this at all up until late last week for months and months. His main proof now against relative density is a gravimeter, because he says there's no medium, but the vacuum is a medium. Solid rock is a medium, if you know what I mean. It's like anything that is part of a differential is a medium. So it's like that's his main proof. But with the gravimeter,
I could have sworn he tossed that away like months ago.
Yeah,
when I heard a hangout where they were like, "Yeah, the gravimeter doesn't really prove anything." Now we're right back to prove something.
Well, supposedly, now it's his number one proof against relative density. But that's why I point out that it's lacking the matter that's needed for the static charge that they're claiming is causing something. So
let's get it straight. He says it crushes it. It crushes relative.
Yeah, that's what he says. Yeah, exactly. That's it. You're right, Neil.
When you have something falling in the zero density.
Yeah, but you see, he's coming.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden that debunks relative density. You're actually proving it.
He does prove
Yeah,
it.
he's using relative density to try and say it's bunk, and then still coming with a notion that the same that Globe has had, that you need a downward bias. Why? Why do you need a downward bias? For what?
Wait, did you guys say that he said something disproves relative density?
Yeah.
Crushes it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I
Yeah,
wonder
bro, he doesn't think
I wonder
relative
if the
density
brothers
is a
like
thing.
so I
That's
wonder
where
if
we're at.
brothers like the brother Whitsitt, I wonder if he agrees or disagrees with relative density being debunked. Or are we getting it the wrong context? Like what's going on here? Who's rolling? That's
No,
what I
it's
want.
all about the
know.
dielectric acceleration.
Those are his words, man.
But at the same,
He absolutely said relative density is not even a thing.
yeah, what he's saying,
And that it's up to us to debunk his whatever, his gravimeter or whatever the hell. And I was like, wait a minute, we're playing this game now. You making a claim and we have to prove it.
Board of proof reversal time.
yeah,
How does that
This tells
work
you
out?
they're acting like ballers.
Anyway,
yeah, but in the
I don't
same
wanna get into
sentence,
it.
Hold on, I think
Sounds
that's a
like
little bit
baller.
unfair.
But-
That's a little unfair.
Right, tell us more.
When he was on Brandon's show, he said, "This is my theory, and I'm gonna see what I can do to prove what I can with my own understanding." He said that relative density, there's nothing really much wrong with it, except that it doesn't fill all the blanks, and there's still some leftover forces that we can account for, especially when we consider electricity and electromagnetism. I think that's a fair enough position to hold when you consider all the different
No, you
forces
dealt
that
with
are
this in a
available.
pre-show.
What
so
blanks is it that it doesn't fit?
is it a
One at a
thing or is it
time.
not a thing? Because I could have sworn I heard him say that it's not even a thing. So now it's not.
Well,
it's a
I didn't
thing
know,
that
but he was
doesn't-
on there Friday.
Say that
Left
again?
He said
over
it very
forces,
clearly.
you say? What?
You say those blanks. Which are they? Would you please
Relative
state them?
density is not enough for them, Brian. Don't you understand it? It's
I don't
too
see where
easy.
these blanks are, Neil. there's blanks that the relative density doesn't explain. No, I think the only blank is in Bob's understanding of it.
I agree.
Because I
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't
That
put
was
on
my
any
question,
blanks. Yeah.
in the pre-show. I asked which blanks or where does it lack? Where's the lacking in the understanding of relative density?
Oh, yeah, can we get
Because
that
people
from
always
you,
say that.
Cleanser? Can you help us bridge the gap? Seeing as that you seem to be involved in this conversation and paying attention. What blanks does it need to fill?
Right. So if we have relative density, we're describing an equilibrium. The problem is that there is a disequilibrium, presumably caused by some force or pseudo force. What's tipping the whole spectrum here?
Excellent.
Is it if I go up higher up, there's going to be more of a
Excellent. You've got a
charge?
question
Is
for
that
us.
charge
No
going to
problem.
be electric?
Cleanser, you're asking us to explain why something happens, right? What's happening exactly?
Right.
Tell us where this disequilibrium is experienced, please.
Well, you can either call it pressure or you could call it resistance.
Or what's happening? What's occurring?
Resistance.
What's occurring?
Well, there's a resistance. If I throw something as high as up in the air as I can,
You've
like
thrown
a
something.
baseball,
Sorry, stop. What's happening that's naturally occurring? Not when you throw something up. That's you throwing it up. That's definitely a man doing that. What do we observe naturally occurring? We can do this for 10 minutes before you figure out that there's no phenomena to study, or you can just try and throw things in the air and induce effects that you're going to create. Which one's it going to be? 10 minutes of trying to figure out why we're studying something that doesn't happen? Just tell me what we're studying in nature. What's happening naturally?
friction and resistance.
So we're trying to figure out the reason why friction occurs.
Energy.
No, I don't think so. See, when you describe something...
Let me ask you this.
Why are you asking me to stop talking when I'm trying to clarify your position? So let's just stay calm, Cleanser. You described throwing something up so it could come back down again. Yeah? Now you're into friction. No, that's definitely not why you had an example of throwing something up and it coming back down again. So there's a disequilibrium, according to you. Where do we observe it in nature?
I don't want to say dropping things because I know you'll
Well,
say that I was the one that dropped it.
Just don't. What are we observing?
I think it's fair enough to say that things go down.
Stop. Is it just you dropping things then? Because you say I don't want to say dropping things, but that's basically 2 occasions you've tried to say dropping things. And the gravimeter is something dropping something now, isn't it? So the effect is a man raising something into a position and then dropping it. Is that it? Is that because that's not a natural phenomenon? That's not something I need to concern myself. It's not occurring in nature. It only occurs if you pick something up and drop it again. So we are going to spend 10 minutes for you to figure out there isn't a natural phenomena occurring here. Maybe tell me more times that things that you drop go down, because I can debunk that with a kettle. I just turn it on and watch the water change state into a gas, and then it doesn't drop. It doesn't go down. I can also drop a helium balloon and it doesn't do that. So no, that's definitely not a phenomenon we're experiencing in nature. It seems to be something that's being induced by men to describe a force to fill in a blank that doesn't exist. I mean, I'm saying it sounds like it. It is that, because we don't have a downward bias, but that's what you're trying to get to while simultaneously denying it, saying I wouldn't say it's a downward bias, but if I drop something... So you are definitely inferring a disequilibrium by way of dropping things or throwing them in the air and having them return, when in reality, things don't just go down unless you're throwing them out of equilibrium, and also things go up.
No, he said it's fair to say things are going down. I heard him just say that.
Well, hold on. Okay, so be a little fair with me on this one, because if you throw something up...
Why are you doing that? Why? Stop.
The thing to go up.
Stop. What are you telling me about if you throw things up? I don't care. My question is about what we're studying in nature. We're realists and only concerned with the natural world we experience, not what you throw in the air. Okay?
Right.
Let's just get that clear. It's the 3rd attempt to induce this non-natural phenomena we're not experiencing. We definitely not experience any natural phenomena of a downward bias. But you're trying to induce one now, aren't you? It's 3 attempts you've had so far. Please don't give us a 4th attempt to induce a downward vector that your first gambit was to deny you're claiming. So you do know you are claiming downward biases and trying to throw in things literally in some instances to claim it, do you understand that you are actually claiming that now? Because the other guy, whatever his name was, Die Slow, did the same thing. Tried to deny he's claiming a downward vector, only to go on to drop things and throw things in the air and wonder about why they come back down and the disequilibrium involved when you induce this effect that doesn't exist in nature.
All I'm saying is resistance is a property of electricity. You
That's
can learn
fascinating.
that.
Who cares?
No, it's a property.
That's lovely.
That's
That's lovely. And an exothermic reaction is usually involved in an explosion. Who gives? Who cares? So you're just throwing out word salad. What does that have to do with anything?
If you believe in an atom, you're going to have an electron. Electron is electricity.
I'm not debating
you're have
atoms.
resistance in all things.
Hello. We've gone from you trying to drop balls to you now going off into word salad segues that are meaningless. It's not about friction. It's about stuff claiming to fall down, go boom boom. Why are you denying this? That's what's being claimed. The problem with that claim, and it's undoubtedly why your cognitive dissonance is leading you into denying it while simultaneously claiming it, is because that road leads you to literally have to assert that gas go down, go boom boom. Like Bob Nodell has done. He has said that if you release helium into a vacuum, it'll go down after a period of time. That's what it'll lead you to do, because that's what you're claiming. Now, number one, I don't know why you're denying that's what you're claiming. That's what holding this belief is. So, yeah, let's just get that squared away. You definitely are claiming downward bias, even though you deny it. And there isn't one.
What I'm saying is resistance is a component of electricity. It's just a reaction.
Who cares?
The thing that...
Who cares? What is this? Some sort of electrician's form? I don't get it. Do you think this is an electrician's forum?
No, I'm just...
Who cares then? I'm not interested in the electronics aspect of man-made devices or when men throw balls. All I'm interested in is natural phenomena. Natural.
I think electricity is natural.
I don't get this. Synchronizer. Do things also go up?
Absolutely they do. Buoyancy.
So
yeah.
then why do you
So-
guys keep saying there's a bias downwards if things also go up? Because if things are going up, then there's no downward bias.
I didn't say bias. I haven't said that.
No, I'm telling you what the claim involves. That's what I'm telling you. I know you're denying it, and that's cognitive dissonance. Yeah, you've just said buoyancy. Now, the effect described with that word would be to have gas go down, go boom boom to force the other gas up. You do realise that's what buoyancy means, right? It's invoking gravity, a downward bias. You did realise that when you use the word buoyancy, you invoke downward force, right? Or did you not realise that?
I don't believe in gravity. No.
You just said buoyancy. Do you know what buoyancy means and what it invokes or not? Because you're saying, I don't believe in something. You've just used the word that describes and invokes a downward vector. That would be buoyancy. So why are you using the word if you don't believe in it? Why are you utilising this fundy globe nonsense if you don't believe in it?
My understanding of buoyancy does not imply gravity or mass attracting mass or
It's defined.
spinning of
Are you having me on?
space-time.
Sorry, so should we take your definition of buoyancy over the actual definition of buoyancy then? Your definition
Yeah,
we're
because
going to
that's
take.
the whole point of the argument.
No, words are specifically defined. Do you want to look up what buoyancy actually means? Because it seems like you haven't got a clue what you're invoking when you use that word. You are invoking gas go down, go boom boom when you use that word. Maybe deny again that you're invoking a downward vector here when you absolutely are.
If things go down, it's
They
a
don't.
reaction.
They don't. Some things go up. I can debunk that with steam. So why are you now begging the question that if things go down, when they don't, there's no bias, things also go up? Why are you begging the question? If things go down, so you are literally on the fundamentalist religious zealotry trail of begging the question now. If things go down, well, steam, let's use that as an example. If steam goes down, it doesn't.
Steam goes up. Yeah, I agree.
So why would you start with a begging the question fallacy that asserts that if things go down then? Because they don't, do they? So let's not start with a begging the question fallacy that I can debunk with steam. See where we're going? You've got to literally beg the question.
I see.
You've got to literally beg the question of if things go down. That's what you just said.
Things go up and they go down. They do all sorts of things.
The problem is we have to be absolutely honest about what we see in nature, right? So when we're asked, oh, why do things go down by Globers? You know why we're being asked that, right? But we tell them the same shit. Well, things don't just go down. Things go up, things go down, things float, depending on where the thing is and how dense it is and how dense what the medium it's in is, right? You can understand that, right? I'm sure you can. So this is the problem we're having, is that this downward bias, you're asserting gravity. It's as simple as that.
No,
I say I'm not being honest if I say, well, why do things go down? If I don't also say, well, why do things go down? Why do things go up? And why do things float?
The problem is, Chocolate, the moment you mention gravity, he starts getting triggered and saying he's not invoking it, even though he is. He just doesn't realise it. This has come from Ken Wheeler. And in his diagram, that I'm being told to compass, you know, even though it was labelled gravity and mass, in line with his heliocentric belief. Now, he might be reclaiming gravity as a different force, incoherent dielectric acceleration. Doesn't change the fact that it's asserted in the rhetoric to be a downward bias due to Earth's mass, or the bending of geodesics in space-time. Regardless, that's the vector he had pointed out on his little graph there, didn't he? Now, that's a big problem if you're a flat earther, because it's not required. No need for things to go to the centre of the mass that they claim is an Earth that's spherical. We don't need it. Now, when we point out that you're invoking it has a downward bias, you get all triggered. Now, I point out that buoyancy invokes this downward bias, and you say, I'm not saying I don't believe in it, but you are absolutely invoking it. For all you flat earthers who are on this little incoherent dielectric acceleration bandwagon, just appreciate what you're actually claiming. Don't come here and tell us you're not claiming downward bias. You are. Now, the fact that that leads you down a little path of cognitive dissonance where you feel the need to deny it, because you realise it's not needed, not required, and not experienced in nature, yeah? Induced by man-made devices where you take something to the top of a tube in a vacuum and drop it, or throw a ball in the air, or drop a ball, or drop a pen, yeah, like the guys who've got gravity. It doesn't change the fact that that is still debunked by a kettle. There is no downward bias, but that's what this is being used for, whether or not the people who have a vague clue what they're being sold by numpties who don't understand gas behaviour are punting. Now, Sinclair, you just don't understand what you're being sold.
Nathan, can I?
Well, I mean, I'm not being sold. I don't like the term gravity, and whenever people say downward bias, I have the same reaction I think you guys do, and I don't want to hear it. I know what that implies: mass attract mass, bendy warpy. No, I don't. That's not what I'm. That's why I don't want to. I don't want to be a flat earther and have to answer for those things.
Okay,
talking,
thanks. I'd like to finish now my statement.
No, Arwin, when I address Sinclair a question and then you start talking through him, no, I'm just going to shut you up.
This is important for you to know too.
Go ahead,
Nathan. Me? All right. So, yeah, I got a communication from some other flat earthers, I'll not name them, that... Yeah, I looked at the diagram from Ken Wheeler, and that thing is from 2014. From what I've heard, he's kind of moved on. So it's like an old, outdated diagram that he doesn't really agree with anymore. Because from what I heard, he is actually fully onto relative density, and he does not claim the dielectric stuff. Not as the cause of the gravity, but hey, I might be wrong. I got this communication from people that told me that about Ken Wheeler, that he doesn't actually stand behind it.
Ken Wheeler
He
thinks
still
he's on a
pushes
ball.
magnetic gravitation.
Ken Wheeler thinks he's on a ball, doesn't he?
There's a very simple way out of this.
Right.
People.
So it's required.
Sorry, Nathan.
I'm just saying, Ken Wheeler thinks he's on a ball. This downward bias with the people antipode to his location is required for him to believe he's on a ball. So telling me, well, he doesn't believe it. Well, he better if he thinks he's on a ball, or welcome to Flat Earth Ken Wheeler.
Exactly.
Well, that's
right.
exactly
Well, there might be some
exactly
people
where I'm
that are
going.
waiting for that to happen.
Hold on. Brian wants to agree with me, so I'm going to let him talk. Go ahead, Brian.
Thank you. You know, I actually have something to say that will be pertinent, rather than just throwing in any other comment. what the people who are on the incoherent dielectric acceleration train don't realize, and this is for you too, Cleanser, is that is a replacement for gravity. But if gravity is not real, then incoherent dielectric acceleration is not real, because the whole point of it was a replacement for gravity.
No.
But if you believe incoherent dielectric acceleration...
No, think... God, I hope QE's going to...
That's what Ken Wheeler
Hold
was
on.
talking
I think what
about.
you've just done is denying the antecedent fallacy. So, no, Brian. No, simply saying because the two aren't connected makes the other one not real. That's not true. No, there is such a thing as incoherent dielectric acceleration. It's fascinating. I couldn't give a shit about discussing it on this show because we haven't got an interest in explosive forces for the sake of reactions. Exothermic reactions, we don't care. Unless they've got something to do with the nature of the world we're living in, who cares? But denying the antecedent, I'll check it and write it down. But I think what you've just said is a denying the antecedent fallacy.
Well, the point I'm making is that the whole point of what Ken Wheeler was doing, he is a baller, is to give an electric or a static electric explanation for gravity, which takes away mass attracting mass, right? That was the whole point of it. And if people don't believe in mass attracting mass and don't believe in the concepts of that and a downward bias caused by that, then how can they believe in what Ken Wheeler pushed in place of it? The point I'm making is, if one is not true, the other is not true. It's like, leave me make it simple. If gravity is not true, then the replacement of gravity is not true. The replacement of gravity isn't true, so the replacement of gravity isn't true.
Okay,
it's
no
A then B, A therefore B.
Okay, no, that's not. I'm pretty certain you are denying the antecedent. So, for the sake of argument, if I replace your incoherent dielectric acceleration with something that does exist, for example, cake baking, yeah. So gravity described as in this example bending of space time, yeah. I'm going to replace that with cake baking, just so it's descended into farce. And I say, because my replacement for the old version of gravity, which is not real, is cake baking, yeah, I'm going to say cake baking is gravity. Nathan's gravity is cake baking. It's just as valid, in fact. But by saying, well, no, because the effect described by Einsteinian gravity doesn't manifest itself in reality as a downward vector, yeah, pseudo force space doesn't give you a force. Therefore, the replacement of cake isn't real. Like, no, cake is real. So if you put that argument forward, all they have to do is prove incoherent dielectric acceleration is a thing, and that will then disprove your argument and make gravity real, i.e. a downward bias? No. So you can't deny that one of them is real simply because it's being utilized to attribute a cause to effects we don't experience.
Okay, I will accept that. Sorry, 1 second, Flatside. I will accept that I made a logical fallacy. My point is that how can you replace something that isn't real to begin with?
Yes, the effect. That's why I grilled Sink Cleanser, and thank you for playing along, Sink Cleanser. You can grill them all day. What do we observe happening? And immediately, gravimeter. It's not a naturally occurring phenomena. What are you talking about? And when you make that assertion, you go down the stupid road of asserting that if you release gas in the same exact circumstances, it's going to pool at the bottom. What a complete load of nonsense. But that's the kind of path you have to go down if you've got a downward bias. Tough luck. You know, we're just going to highlight that stupidity, but point out that the effect being described, the assumption of the downward bias in the first instance, is the thing that we can debunk. It's only required by a globe. We don't require it. As flat earthers, we don't have a necessity to explain why people antipode from our location aren't flying off. That's not necessary. Why are we stuck to something spinning? Well, we don't have to explain that.
I think you're onto something, Nathan, because baking, cakes rise.
Oh, shut up, Neil.
They don't go down.
Right, I'm going to do some shout-outs before we get the terrible jokes on a very serious point that's causing a lot of contention. And it is a serious point, you know, and it's a worthy discussion now that we're past the ad homs, you know, Anthony Riley's comments aside. Sorry, Anthony. Anyway, another shout out to James Richard. It says, the further you push the basketball underwater, the faster it rises when it reaches the surface of the water. It goes it quits going up because it's more dense than the air and less dense than the water, leaving at rest between the two. Okay, I think there might be a couple of typos in there, but yes, I appreciate your sentiment. You're just describing a disequilibrium and a return to equilibrium with a basketball and some water. Yes, indeed, James Richard. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat. Also, shout out to Thomas Larson for joining as a hyena.
Oh, Nathan, can I fill a comment about the basketball, please?
Because I told off Neil, so first apologies to Neil. I'm sure your joke was funny. I'm just not in the mood.
Yeah, but Neil
I've been trying to talk for the last 20 minutes.
Go
ahead, brother.
I'm about to go. So.
Okay, go ahead, Arwen. It's fine.
All right. Yeah, the basketball finds not so much an equilibrium with either the water or the air. No, it's going to find an equilibrium with the average density of both. And that's where it's going to find its rest.
Yeah,
so the average of the air combined with the average of the water, and within the fine-tuned average combination, there is it going to find an equilibrium.
Indeed. Go ahead, Flatsoid.
That was it.
No, I was just trying to point out the whole reason why they are pushing this incoherent dielectric acceleration is because they're trying to prove the ether. And because they can't prove the ether, they need something to conglomerate it with.
I see.
Yes, I agree with that.
What's ether?
Gotta push that ether.
What is ether?
I ask the
Damn
same
it! I was
question
just gonna say, what's ether again?
I ask it daily. But one more thing rises: yeast. My wife was doing something and she put yeast in, and it rose.
Okay.
So,
well, we've got options
things
clearly
go up.
to replace the what would be now fourth generation gravity. Could be yeast. It could be cake.
It's the yeast dense force out there, but
yeast dense. That's terrible. Go on, Sinclair.
Well, I don't know. With the cake thing, you get to eat it too, so it's an argument, and you don't go hungry. I kind of like what Neil's saying here.
Indeed.
I just find it a little crazy that we're trying to hold these globers to their own pseudoscience, right? Even their own side that's giving them this gravity is telling them that gravity is not a force, but you can think of it like a force, right? Gravity is not a force. Veritasium, gravity is not a force, right? All these guys on their own side, and now it's like we got people say, hey, that force that's not a force is actually a force on our side.
Don't forget Eric Valinder shouted from the rooftop.
Yeah. Gravity doesn't exist.
Listen.
Did you want to add something, Sinclair? Sorry to interrupt you guys on Discord.
Well, the only thing I wanted to add is that I think when they went into the philosophy of Newton and Einstein, they took a big wrong turn in the direction of gravity philosophically. But before they did that, they should have, I think, recognized, as people once did before, that light is energy and energy is a force. And I think there is a pretty good argument for ether physics. What is ether? I don't know, but it's pretty much, in my mind, it's light, and that's energy. So then it's a force. But I understand the details aren't
ether
really
is
there,
light?
and it's
sorry.
We have a name. We have a name for that already.
luminiferous.
It's light.
Yeah, luminiferous.
What is it?
Light.
Luminiferous ether?
What is that?
Luminiferous ether.
What is that?
Well, light. I think light is energy, and energy is a force.
One at a time.
But this is a huge left turn. They went to gravity. They went to mass and all that other stuff. They could have gone into what is light.
Ether, right?
I think that would have been a better direction.
We're just trying to find out what ether is. What is it?
Oh, I don't know. Good luck.
Propagation medium for electrostatics.
Hold on. Sorry. What do you mean you don't know?
Well, I think the question is, what is light? Is light matter? No, I don't really think it is. It is energy, and
but nobody asked what light was. We asked what ether was.
Exactly.
Luminiferous implies.
But before you said ether
light.
was light, but we have a word for light. It's light. Now ether is light.
But luminiferous implies light.
Okay, so luminiferous ether. So what is ether then? Before you describe it as luminiferous, what is the ether part?
It's the light.
What's that?
I would describe, well, here's how I understand it. There's nothing that doesn't react to light. Light reacts with everything. Everything is in the medium that can react to light. I think light is energy and it moves through all things. Call that whatever you want, but it's pretty much the first force. In my
How about
mind.
I
It's the
call that
first
light
energy
that's
source.
energy that's moving through all things? But what's ether?
There's a mix-up here because
I
the
don't know.
claim
I'm
of
not going
ether,
to define
there's two
it because
different
I'm not
ethers.
that bold, but
There's two different ethers that were claimed throughout history. One of them was an electrical type of ether, and it was called an ether, but it wasn't. I don't know if Tesla claimed it to be an ether, but Tesla was speaking about this constant charge that could be, or a constant electricity that was being created that could be harnessed. Right. The other one was a medium. The other one is ether as a medium for light to propagate through. So rather than light being ether, it's ether is necessary for light to propagate. But the problem is there's all different claims of what ether is. Nobody can actually nail it down because nobody can show it or prove it. So there's just a lot of ideas about this thing that has no evidence to support it. The electric ether, yeah, there's electricity that can be harnessed, but that has nothing to do with the other ether.
well, that's like saying there's two types of gravity. There's Newtonian and there's Einsteinian. There's maybe two types of ether. But when I refer to ether, I'm assuming it's talking about light. And I know light moves through all things. It's energy. It's the
No,
first
there
force.
are two types of
That's what I
electricity.
understand it to be.
No,
that's
you're
light.
mixing things up.
That's called light, though.
Yeah, I think light is the main source of the argument. I think it all comes
So
down
why
to
are you
that.
calling it ether if it's light?
Well, they call it luminiferous, and I don't know. It's just better
Yeah,
to
that's
grab.
because they claim that the luminiferous ether is a medium that light needs to propagate through. If you ask Bob Nodell, he'd say it's a medium that light propagates through. He is claiming that why there's a 15-degree-an-hour drift in his fog gyro that he was talking about is to do with the movement of the ether. Now he's claiming that. So how is light doing that? Is light moving around at 15 degrees an
Well,
hour?
a ring laser
what I said.
gyro
See,
has
but
to do with receiving light, and that's what maybe is changing the angle of the light going through.
Shown to me
Cool.
that
Cool.
removing
Hold on,
this
Chocolate.
ether.
Hold on a second. We did this a minute ago now, didn't we? Back to this position. So what are we observing again in nature? What's being observed?
Light. Light is being
I'm not
observed.
talking to you, Neil. Or what are we concerning ourselves with? In the same way there is no downward bias, there's nothing you'll take me to in nature to imply there is. What are we trying to figure out? Causes again? We're ascribing causes to ring laser gyros, it sounds like. So I'm just wondering what's occurring in nature that we're concerning ourselves with. There is something occurring in nature that we're concerning ourselves with here. We're not just inventing things, are we? Based on stuff we've done with little machines we've made? Surely not. We're obviously observing something occurring in nature for us to move forward with, right?
Well, I mean, I don't know who you're directing that to, but I don't think his ring laser gyro measured Earth rotation. If anything, it measured
Didn't ask
light
that. That's
at
not
an
what I
angle
asked. We're
with a
talking about
charge.
ether, and suddenly we're having causal relationships ascribed to ether. The hell's that? Based on
No,
some piece of machinery that's been utilized in some way to study something, and I want to know what was being studied. Don't tell me
I
what the
think
ring
it was
laser gyro
light.
doesn't
It
prove. I
was-
don't care. Just tell me what's being studied.
Light is being studied, I think.
Light? We're trying
In
to
that
figure the
instance.
cause of light. Is that what they're doing? Trying to figure out what causes light?
I think that's the only thing that a ring laser gyro will ever measure, just like an interferometer is going to measure light and give you. It's not anything else than light. From as far as it's energy, it's just electricity. It's based on a charge that has a certain rate, but it's not Earth rotation or whatever they try to say it is.
Yeah, but my point to you was Bob is taking this thing that they're calling Earth rotation, and he's claiming it's not Earth rotation, it's the movement of the ether. And you're saying the ether is light. And other people, it's like you can't get your story straight because you keep on trying to make claims for something we don't have any actual natural phenomenon to observe. We don't observe ether. We observe light.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you. So it sounds like what we're actually looking at is the lights in the sky. Is that not what we're looking at?
Right.
Well, from what I understand, even if Bob took his gyro and stuck it in a box where it can't see the stars, it doesn't really matter. We still live in a magnetic field that has invisible light.
Yes.
It's not a light that we can visibly see through the spectrum of our eye necessarily, but it is a resonant force, and that's what I would think that we live in.
Yeah, light has energy.
Call it
Okay, yeah, I get it.
either, call it whatever.
That's nice. Okay,
Well,
I get it. Light has energy, but we're still yet to have described what the phenomena is. Is the phenomena the lights moving in the sky?
Not in that instance. He didn't control for all the variables. There's still
Right.
invisible light.
So what is being studied? My God.
He didn't have a controlled. It wasn't a controlled experiment. He didn't isolate all the variables. He didn't
Variables
do
for
any of that. He just
what?
said, "Oh, there's
What's
15."
being studied?
I said I think it's light. I don't know what else.
You think
I think it's just
you
light.
think that this gyro is trying to figure out the cause of light?
No, I think it's detecting light at a certain rate, and that's why it's charged. It's not a mechanical gyro. It's a ring laser
Don't
power
care.
gyro.
I
It's
just
detecting light at
want
a
to know
certain
what's being
rate.
studied in nature. That's all I want to know.
Well, there's no ring laser gyros in nature, Nathan. I think
It
you know
doesn't
that.
matter.
I
It
think
could
it's
be
just light.
It could be part of the experimental apparatus to ascertain the cause of an effect. And an effect, something happening in nature. I don't know how many times I've said it. What's happening? It seems like nothing is happening. Because you're not telling me what's happening.
Because he doesn't have
wasn't
a
a scientific
hypothesis, because he
experiment.
doesn't have a naturally observed phenomenon. That's why.
I would like to know if the ring laser gyroscope was diamagnetic.
Why?
Propulsion.
Why?
It's a
Who
computer.
cares?
To find out why it was doing what it was doing.
What's
To
it
study
doing?
more.
Who cares what it's doing? Sorry, we could sit around explaining how explosions work. Would that serve us in terms of anything useful?
Yes,
Or how?
it is useful. Knowing what it is, cause and effect. That's what science is.
Causing what? An effect in a man-made gyro? That's a man-made device.
Yes,
If the effect
why
is the
it's
gyro and what
working.
it's doing, well, I know the cause of that.
Yeah, ring laser gyros are not natural. It's not a natural phenomenon. So
Really?
we're going a little bit over our heads.
No, that's nice. What is the phenomena then? If the gyro isn't the phenomena, what is the phenomenon that's being studied? It's about the 7th time I've asked.
A field perturbation of light.
What?
I think it's a field perturbation of light. Now that
You're grasping at straws.
What does that
no,
mean?
it's not grasping. There's not only visible light. There's invisible light. He
We
didn't.
know, we heard.
control
That's
it.
the
He
second
didn't
time you've said
even
it.
bother.
We know. Yeah, we heard.
Fabricated.
We're not deaf. Thank you. But what does that mean? You're studying the what of light?
It means that we live in a magnetic field if we're on Earth, and there's invisible light that may have affected his ring laser gyro.
No, it'd be more like a magnetism field because diamagnetism is repulsive. It's so like glass will rotate. Like paramagnetism, it's parallel. So I'd like to know more about what's inside the system before all these globers want to bring it out and say
Yeah,
this.
but
and
you'd have to
that a
prove
little
we're
more.
inside a magnetic field first before you could ever even start attributing anything to it. Just because
there's
we have
definitely a magnetic
magnetism
field.
doesn't mean
You
we're
could
within a constant magnetic dipole magnetic field.
There's definitely a magnetic field.
How is
I mean,
light
keep a
affected by
battery
magnets?
system-
Have you shown that light can even be affected by magnets? What's light? You have to prove show what light is first. You can't show these things.
Hey, QE.
Good morning.
Oh, what up,
Debbie?
John?
Hey, QE.
With that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. If you would like to get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy, there is a link below this video. If you are watching on either Nathan Oakley 1980 premiering streams or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!